tonight. You left it right to the last moment.
Yeah, well, here I am. Come on, let's get on.
All right, it's John Walters, of course, with his weekly review of the pop press, and who's in it this week?
Who's in it?
Yeah.
Who's in it? We are.
Not again.
We are. Well, I was in last week, because I am the Magnificent, as you know. Okay, but I'm not in it this week, and you're only in it a bit, you know. But the BBC... The B, Radio 1 to be specific, are in. They certainly listen to us. I will say that. They used to say, Radio 1, don't listen to it. They do now. Note everything down there. You know, the Melody Maker now refers, mainly in Tuck, Tuck, Tuck. Tuck, Tuck, Tuck. They refer to Mike Reed now. They just automatically call him Mike God Reed. Have you noticed that? I mean, poor old Reed. I saw him this morning. He looked really worn and tired. Because, you know, he got clamped again for something like the 9th
Every morning?
Every morning. He gets clamped, you know. I mean, they wouldn't clamp God. That's all I'm saying, you know, because those traffic wardens, suddenly God would put them on their own feet and make them hop home. It's no way. So we know he's not God, you know, he's just an ordinary poor human being. Come on, leave off, Mike Mike Reed, for crying. I said to Mike, come on. Mike, I said, relax. He said, don't say that to me. So I said, no, what I mean is, look, Mike, sit down. Look, just sit down, have a glass of water. On second thoughts, just turn the water into wine and we'll drown our sorrows one day. He said, wow! He said, no, he's really a nice guy. He's a nice old chap, nice old woolly old bear, old Mike. He was all right. He just looks a bit worn out these days. Decent, fun-loving sort of chap, but what an idea. I mean, that the BBC would actually give the breakfast show, the DJ spot, to God. I mean, let's not be silly about this, you know, by what people say about God at the moment. The current rumour is she's black. Which means that she certainly wouldn't get a job as a DJ, and if she did, she wouldn't get the breakfast spot, I'll tell you for nothing. But no. So, you're in it, the pop press. They have a little go at you.
I don't want to hear.
But everybody's in it. Peter Powell's in it. They're all in it. Mike Smith, they're having a go at everybody. Peel, they never used to have a go at Peel. Somebody wrote to the NME to complain that Julie Burchill had a go at Peel, if you remember, in that media thing, that everybody got a bit of stick, except you. That was suspicious. But anyway, Julie Burchill had a go at Peel, and somebody wrote in saying, how could you have a go at Peel, this wonderful human being that he is, and all that sort of thing. He's God. So, no, Mike Reed's God. Oh, no. And so all this is going on, you see, in the NME, and I've had all that sort of thing before, you see, and then somebody steps in. There's always somebody wants to have a go, and this time, Paolo Hewitt, who was running the record, the letters page there, and he writes back, an anti-Peel letter. And you meet these people, usually they want to be Peel or something like that, you know, or they've sent a tape, and we haven't used it on the programme, you know, that kind of thing, and they're resentful about it, you know. I don't think Julie's sent a tape. I don't think she's just naturally whack. She'll whack anybody. Julie Burchill has not sent a tape to Peel and is therefore resentful. So, I was thinking only the other day, I was in the bath, and I suddenly thought, you know, Vince Clarke, now that Alf's gone, and is starting a solo career, in theory, we never hear it yet, but I'm sure we will do. But, I mean, now Vince Clarke, now Yazoo have split up. He could get together with Julie Burchill. He could go out on stage and do the synthesizer. Julie runs out into the audience, whack, whack, and it could be called Yaroo. Oh, that's a really good name. Good name for a new girl. Anyway, but in a New Musical Express, Julie Burchill's old man, Tony Parsons, is in there, and there's a thing, quite a good chat, you know, with Paul Weller. Well, it's not so much with Paul Weller. There's Tony Parsons, ex-Moore, who's with the Redskins and so, you know, old ex-Moore. Ex-Chris, his real name is. And the Style Council boys are there, and they're sitting round talking about life and times. But, I mean, it's quite good. It's worth buying it for. It's a good interview. It gets a bit Dud and Pete-ish occasionally when they're sitting round, and it's something like, yeah, but you don't believe in God. And Paul Weller's saying sort of, actually, I'd better be careful because he's coming in later and he looks a lot fitter than me. But he says something about believing in God or something. Yes, of course he doesn't. And ex-Moore said, no, you can't. So, and they start all that kind of, all right, who made the world? And Mr. And ex-Moore's, well, science tells us it was like an explosion of gases, and who made the gases then? Mr. Clever. And it gets rather Dud and Peetish at that point. But it's, you know, there's some good points made, and they say, you know, what they believe and so on. And another interesting interview in this week's NME is Alexis Hale. Of course, you know, and hello, John, and so on. But he's in there saying what all the alternative comedy stories and, you know, what it's really about. And I'm very much indebted to New Musical Express for also having another whack at the BBC and pointing out that it was Newsbeat who did a little piece on Alexi and introduced him as that zany Cockney comedian. Oh, dear, whack. Yeah, still, you think, come on, never mind about whacking in the BBC. Bit of sanity. What week is it? Where can we find some standards? Kerrang! Woo! There it is. I couldn't get Kerrang. I went down to the news thing. It just wasn't there that time, you know. I said, can I get a Kerrang? Well, you know what it's like here at Radio 1. The Daffia. You know, we're surrounded by Daves. I mean, you're one of them, so I better be careful. I haven't got the secret handshake or anything. There's Dave Tate through there. He says, don't worry, says that Dave. I'll get one off another Dave. I'll get one off Dave Price. Dave Price! Dave Price, of course, is our chief assistant. Nobody at home knows what that means. It means when the boss is away, he can sign expenses and things like that, and look after door handles and that sort of thing. Sort of important. So, chap who goes around in a suit and so on. Not the sort of bloke you'd imagine getting kerrang! I was amazed, because Dave Price thinks that, like, over the top is having a roll-neck sweater or something like that. Pretty beatnik kind of thing. And I thought, I had no idea he was a secret heavy metal buff. And now I sort of imagine him going home, getting in front of the mirror. He pulls on his missus's leg warmers, gets the toasting fork, puts the colander on his head, and, "Hi, I'm Davon, mighty warlord of the planet Thoth," he says to the mirror. Does he? No, of course he doesn't. Old Dave Price. I mean, we're not like that in Britain. All he does is put on his ordinary suit and tie and say, "I am Chief Assistant of Radio 1," which he is, but he's, no more unbalanced than that. That's because we're British. We don't have that sort of thing. But in America, they have anything, don't they, eh? When I was looking through the press, I suddenly thought, hello, copy of Rolling Stone comes up. And I thought, these Americans really, they're really so strange, They don't know what time it is. We know what time it is. Poll time! Once again, as soon as I pick a Rolling Stone, we've had all our own polls. They are doing there again. And it's the first time I've looked at Rolling Stone for weeks, and I turn the pages. As soon as you get, like, the small ads, for instance, you see, turn to the small ads. They're a strange nation. Collector's items. It's all Beatles memorabilia and all that sort of thing, Signed things by John Lennon, they say, and so on. And even when they manage to get away from the Beatles, it's some nutty nonsense or another. Look at this. Gifts and merchandise. 1984 Grateful Dead calendar. Can you imagine that? You'd open it and you think, hey, man, all these months it's 1973 kind of thing. And, yeah, man, to us it's always 1973. It's really great, man. I don't know. All this sort of stuff. But even when they do serious reporting, and they do it very well, of course, very often what they're reporting, although they do it well, it's about lunacy. It's about some kind of nutcase nonsense. They've got quite an interesting short article in here summing up what they've been doing over many years about that Karen Silkwood case. I think I told you, didn't I, in Walter's Week some weeks ago, about this new film that Meryl Streep is very likely to be in for Oscars or whatever it is next time round, about this girl Karen Silkwood, who was kind of protesting about conditions at the nuclear plant, and on her way, this is an actual case, 10 years ago, on her way to see an investigative reporter, having been found to be contaminated and so on, she was going to spill the beans, car went off the road and she died. Nobody ever knows quite what happened. It's one of those things. Rolling Stone exposed a lot of that stuff, and they've made this big film about her. But there you see, that's nutty in itself, but what's almost even nuttier, poor girl died about 10 years ago. Look in the back of Rolling Stone there. According to the article here, that some High Court judge or whatever it is has awarded her parents $10 million. And now people are actually closing down atomic plants and things because they think, yikes, people get contaminated. But, well, it's a strange country. Jerry Lee Lewis, you think, rock and roll. Oh, hello, good old Jerry Lee Lewis.
Yes, I saw that article.
Turn the pages. The strange and mysterious death of Mrs. Jerry Lee Lewis. Jerry Lee Lewis's last wife, and she was found dead, and what happened. I won't go into the whole thing, because I've not read the whole thing myself, but, it's really interesting, as you say. But, the headlines here, when you look at the headlines, this is the heading, it says, "There was trouble from the start of Sean's marriage," that's the girl, "to the rock and roll legend. You scared of me?" he once asked his sister. "You should be. Why do you think they call me the killer?" 2 months later, Sean was dead. that's just the headline. Yikarini. Turn it over. Here's another one. There's a quote from the mortician. It says, "I'd never say Jerry Lee killed that girl. Says it might be innocent as a train wreck, but I'd like to see it investigated. You just can't make me believe that girl just lay down and died." Oh, and then you read all the details, and it's like one of those Deep South films that's very hot, and there's always things going in the night. There's always a very fat sheriff who keeps getting out of the car and calling everybody, "Billy Bob." "Hi there, Billy Bob." And he gets out of the car, and people who, "What do you keep calling us Billy Bob?" "Hello, I'm the sheriff. I'll do what I like." Another dead Negro. The way they go on, and you really think, what a strange country. Most odd. Then you look at, like profiles. You think it's not all big articles. There's little showbiz profiles. Cheech and Chong have got a daughter. That's not entirely true, because they're both blokes, but Chong, you remember Cheech and Chong, the old, stoned hip comedians? Time passes. They've got this daughter who's an actress. And there's a picture over there, nice enough looking girl, and there's a write-up about her new film. And she says, "Each director sees me as something different." She says, "Here is this girl who looks like so many races, a lot of black features, but an English nose. English teeth." "What do you mean English teeth? National Health?" Get them out every night and drop them in a pina colada. What they're like in Los Angeles. "Hello." Oh, dear me. And so she says, "Chinese eyes. Whatever. Everyone is safe because you never guess what I am." "What she is," says Rolling Stone, "is a sexy and candid woman with a 19-month-old son and a future ex-husband." What? Why, the baby? She says. I figured there was nothing I could do that was more wild and more profound for me as an artist. Stone me, she might have English teeth. She's got an American brain, all right. One thing and another. I mean, you have a look at the readers' letters. Of course, nowadays they've got letters, serious letters from grown-up people about Duran Duran. One of them, though, I notice is some a person, is it male or female, from Stacey Moats. They can't help being called things like Stacey Moats. Stacey Moats is not only a Duran Duran fan, Stacey Moats lives in Wahoo, Nebraska. Wahoo, Nebraska? Imagine if she went to somewhere like the Grand Ole Opry, for instance, and sat down on the front and say, I see we got some visitors here tonight. Little lady there. Where are you from? Wahoo! Yeah, the show will be starting in a minute. No, where are you from? Wahoo! But they never get any further. You know, she has to just go to country gigs all the time. Now, when is she a Duran Duran fan? Stone me. What a nation. I don't know. But then you move on. The reason we're looking at Rolling Stone tonight is, of course, because we're looking at the poll. You turn to the poll and you think, oh, I don't know. They think it's an English poll, you see. Because the police have got a big interview with police here. You look at the readers' poll. Artist of the Year, Michael Jackson. That's the readers. Because we're obviously a popular boy, let's face facts. You go to the critics' poll over the other side of the page. Are they a little more discerning? Have they got something up their sleeves? They are the critics. Michael Jackson. Oh, there we are. Readers, soul artist. Michael Jackson. Soul artist? Come on. You know, nice guy, but come on. Soul artist in America? So we'll see what the critics, they know what they're all about. Soul artist, Michael Jackson. You think, oh, no, this is the critics! They've got a jazz poll, because jazz is coming back. The readers say, Miles Davis. Well, obviously, Miles isn't what he was, but he's clearly a very important figure, you know, and he's made some records this year. So, OK, jazz artist Miles Davis, that's the readers. The critics are going to see a bit more than that. Critics, Wynton Marsalis.
Your friend.
Well, he's really a nice guy again, and a very clever young player, but he's at his best only a poor man's Miles Davis. And that's the critics. And you think, is it me? And you look through all the British artists that they I mean, hang on a minute, look at this. Best new artist, R.E.M., whoever they may be, just shows you. I mean, Band of the Year from the critics, U2. U2, I mean, that wouldn't happen here, would it? I mean...
Well, they spend most of their time in America.
Of course they do, yes, but can't the critics see more than that? You know, don't we live in a global village? Don't we get records and things? What's the matter with these people? And you suddenly see what the Americans are like, because... the only time I went, and let me say, I'm not some sort of ludicrous ultra-left-wing anti-American or something like this. I mean, I really enjoyed being there, and they've given us so much this century that I like, you know, the films and the music and so on. But there's something, they're the Beverly Hillbillies, aren't they? You know, whee, they've just struck a while, yee-haw, or wahoo, as that girl is still shouting somewhere. But I mean, you know, they've got everything, all the sort of money and all this sort of thing, but they've really got no taste at all. They really can't see anything but the money. You know, that's what it's about. Band of the Year, the Police, all the time. That's their idea of the top British big culture club. Sure, people who are big here, Eurythmics and so on, but they can't see below that at all. There's nothing else. As long as you've got a million-selling album, you're big, and that is the end of that. I mean, I remember when I went there and I talked to some American guy, and he did say to me, he said, yeah, sure, John, it's interesting. It was about 79. There's talking about your punk scene and all these new groups that John Peel comes across and so on, new styles, but the bottom line is, does it make money? And that really is the bottom line. And you've got here, look, turning back to the little things where we found that Chong girl, that Chong dingbat woman. And here is Jodie Foster quoted. This is really the American cultural scene. This is why all the groups that are in there, Top Poll and so on, they're all groups that I saw several years ago and turned down for the Peel show because I thought this group's going to make a lot of money, but there's something missing there that's not really important. You know what I mean? I should say there's something important that's not missing. Do you understand that's not there? Do you understand what I mean? You know, there's some spark missing. Police, fine. Tourists, I saw them before they became the Eurythmics. And I thought, no, it's showbiz. It's very good, but something not there. The critics can't see it. In America, what's the matter with it? But here's Jodie Foster. This is an idea of their grasp. Jodie Foster says, my ambitions are more cultural than they are monetary. So you think at last there's somebody in America with a bit of decency, a bit of vision, you know, ideals. My ambitions are more cultural than they are monetary. I want to have enough money so that I can go to any museum in the world, any restaurant, the movies, the theatre. I can take out my American Express card and go to Greece. But that's it. I don't have any other kinds of ambitions. Is it me? Don't you ask yourself, though, is it me? You know, here's this flipping woman, and she's their cultural ideal. She's given it all up. She's like Buddha or something, or Jesus. She's given up the world. All she wants is an American Express card so she can buy the Mona Lisa. And you think, oh, please, is there no saving these people? Well, you're looking, again, in the polls there, they have artist top 10. And people might find it very well worthwhile buying Rolling Stone just to read David Bowie's Choice of the Year. It's quite interesting. Marvin Gaye's re-releases and so on, his greatest hits, Kraftwerk, Prince, Malcolm McLaren's in there. Roland Kirk's in it. who's been dead for many years, the jazz player, and it's an old album. It's about 20 years old, I think. So I don't know quite, I suppose it was just re-released. But that's quite interesting. But in there, there's Annie Lennox from the Eurythmics, of course, and she does the usual things, picks a couple of Bowie things, a Culture Club thing. But one of her choices of the year is Song to the Siren by This Mortal Coil, which we know is basically the Cocteau Twins with help. And you think, this has got more about it than all the rest of the Codswallop that they've got in this poll here. You're worried. Will the Americans get onto it? Will they read that and think, hey, wait a minute, Annie Lennox has picked it, this could be worth $1 million, this could be a lot of money in this culture here, and they'll bring it over and they'll say, what? Group? Twins, are they? Twins? Brother and sister? That's smashing. I love a brother and sister. I like the Osmonds. They're from Scotland? Scotland? They'll say Scotland the way they do. Hey, it's like McDonald's hamburgers from Scotland. It's really tremendous. We can bring them over here. We can have cocktail burgers. We can have her on television. You think, no! Let's hope they never hear this record.
What a magnificent performance. Great record. I never get tired of hearing it, and hopefully you don't either, because we have played it a few times. This Mortal Coil, Song to the Siren. Almost spiritual. A bit like John Walters, really. In fact, he's just gone off to the BBC Club for some more of that spirit. He loves it. He'll be away next week. Paul Gambaccini will be in the chair looking at the pop press next Thursday.